Today we're going to be removing some suckers from this rose. Sucker is what grows off of the rootstock. If you'll notice, right down here, I don't know if you can see that very well, but as you can see, this is coming out of the ground rather than from the graft. This is called a sucker. These will grow super long and never ever produce flowers, or they'll produce roses from this particular type of rootstock. They'll normally be like little red clusters of flowers, but this one is not going to grow anything. You'll notice also that it doesn't have a whole lot of thorns on it. There's one or two, but it's normally thornless, depending on the particular type of rootstock that you have. This one we're going to trim back as close as we can to the ground. We do not want to trim the graft. The graft is what produces the flowers. In this case, it's some type of green rose here. So we don't want to harm the stalks or the shafts for the green rose. We just want to take out the suckers underneath, and we want to take them out as close as we can to the ground. Now, as you can see, this one hasn't been trimmed for quite a while, so these suckers have gotten pretty long. They'll grow very, very rapidly. And they come way out here. We're just going to trim them back to the ground. That way it'll provide more of the nutrients from the roots to the graft part of the rose. This will significantly weaken your roses if you leave these on here, because all the energy is going to produce these long shafts that you see here, rather than going into producing flowers. And with the rose, you want the maximum amount of flowers you can have. So we're going to trim these back all the way to the ground. This is Country. He's a cool dude that helps me out around here. He's really got a green thumb. So keep an eye on him and he'll show you exactly where to trim these. There we go. And you want to come all the way back in here, as close as you can, and trim those out. And you want to take the whole shaft out. So you got a pretty good, that must be about 3 feet long there. We can take that whole thing out and just trash it. The reason we want to do that, these will grow just humongous. We got a couple here we'll show you in a minute that have gone for quite a while without being trimmed out, and they are just huge.
Should I cut it right there?
Uh-huh. Now we've got one thick shaft down here that we're going to have to remove with some loppers, because you're not going to be able to cut those with hand clippers. So just trim those right out, and what will happen, the energy will now go into the grafted part of the rose, as opposed to growing on these big long shafts here and not producing any flowers. Now that we've trimmed out all of those suckers, it's a much neater, nicer rose, and it'll be a whole lot healthier for the grafted part of the rose to grow. what we're doing here is just removing some of the suckers, but we're going to leave the basic plant there. Even though the graft is dead, we're just going to leave that plant there so that there's something in that place, and we can come back later and put in a new rose. Same situation up here. This one again is growing off of the roots and not off of the graft. So we're just going to trim them back for the time being, and we'll replace them later. Okay, that's much better. We've trimmed these back about 50%, just so there'll be something there to fill in and it won't look like a big blank hole. But we're going to remove both of these and put in some new roses here in about 6, maybe 3-4 months. Right now we're just going to clean up for winter, because these will act just like the regular rose or the grafted part of the rose and go dormant. So we'll just leave them there just as a filler for right now. Now this is another way that suckers can grow. Instead of growing upright, evidently the rootstock from this was like a climbing or running rose, so it spread out way across our rose bed here. We're going to trim that back as well. Yeah, that's how much. We're going to have to go sideways here, but that's how much has grown out from just the rootstock. Again, it's very hardy rootstock. This is from the rose that we want. All the rest of this is from the rootstock. We do not need any of this at all. Now what we could do is take a piece of this rose and graft it again on the rootstock, but it's probably just as easy to just remove it and replace it rather than try to graft onto each one of these, because these dudes are huge. Check it out. We've got tons of it out here. This has gone in about, oh, maybe a 15-foot circle around the original rose. So we need to clean that out of there and get it all cleaned up for winter time. We're gonna zoom in here a little bit and watch Kevin, aka Country, take out some of this stuff that we don't want at all. Like I say, this thing is grown in about a 15-foot radius around the original rose. And we're just gonna clean it up a little bit and make it look tidy for now. But we do want to remove everything off of this rootstock that was here. See, it's even gone over and climbing into this rose here and shading it. This is just some of the debris that we've removed so far. That's all off the rootstock. Say it again.
This right here too.
Yep. This is going to make this bush look a whole lot tidier, and it's going to overwinter a lot nicer.
You made one rose.
Yeah. Out of all this debris, or out of all of this, we have one little tiny rose. We do not need that at all. Now we clean that up really nicely. We've taken a 15-foot area of just rootstock and turned it into a nice little bush. Even though this is still the rootstock with these flowers on here, it'll be okay until next year when we replace them. This is just some of the debris that we've removed from that particular plant. As you can see, there's a ton of it. Each one of these is about 7-8 feet long.